The wheels of the plane kissed the runway with a soft thud, but there was nothing soft about the mood inside. Karoline Leavitt kept her hands folded in her lap, her body calm while her mind remained wired. She knew Jessica Miller would try something before they deboarded. And now, Karoline held two things that could destroy entire political careers: the ice-glass transcript on her encrypted device and the flash drive handed to her by the woman in seat 14A. From her window seat, Karoline saw something unusual. Not one, but 3 black SUVs waiting on the private tarmac instead of the standard single diplomatic vehicle. That wasn't protocol. The aircraft doors hadn't opened yet. The seatbelt sign was still on, but a buzz ran through the elite passengers, most of whom were unaware they'd been part of a political theater at 30,000 feet. Jessica reappeared in the front of the cabin, speaking to the crew. Her eyes kept flicking toward Karoline. The pilot's voice finally came on. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zurich. Please remain seated while Swiss border officials conduct an onboard verification of diplomatic cargo and personnel." Diplomatic cargo? Karoline's stomach turned. That wasn't just customs. That was a cover. They were going to sweep the plane. And her belongings. The encrypted device still in her purse would be flagged in seconds. Worse, the flash drive from 14A, the one her mother may have died to protect, was unaccounted for. She couldn't risk letting it fall into the wrong hands. Karoline turned, catching the eye of the woman in 14A. She gave a small nod and gestured discreetly toward the rear lavatory. Seconds later, Karoline stood. Jessica stepped directly into her path. "You need to remain seated, Ms. Leavitt. That includes you." Karoline met her gaze. "I'm carrying a secure medical container from Walter Reed. You want to be responsible for its failure in court? Be my guest." Jessica paused, 1 second too long. Karoline moved. She entered the lavatory, locked the door, and pulled the flash drive from her blazer. Her hands moved quickly. She opened the small medical bag, peeled back the outer lining, and inserted the drive deep inside the protective leaded foil. Then, using her diplomatic clearance badge embedded with a tracking chip, she sent a short burst to Iceglass Command. "Zurich compromised. Secure package rerouted." The signal hit. Outside, the SUV engines started. But only one was genuine. The others were fakes, part of a sting operation triggered by Karoline's warning. She stepped out just as Swiss agents boarded the plane. The lead officer called out calmly, "Ms. Leavitt, please come with us. There are questions regarding your diplomatic case files." Karoline didn't blink. "Of course, I'd like to speak to the U.S. Embassy official first." Jessica tried to step forward. "She's not cleared to leave the aircraft without crew debriefing." But the Swiss agent cut her off. "You're no longer in U.S. airspace, Miss Miller. We know who you are. Step back." Jessica's mouth opened, but the agent continued. "Zurich Control received an alert 5 minutes ago. Your name was flagged under Phantom Consortium operations. You are hereby detained for international investigation." The cabin gasped. Passengers turned. Some began filming. Karoline stepped down the ramp, boots touching the concrete. 2 officials from the U.S. Embassy awaited her, eyes serious. One leaned close. "We decrypted part of the flash drive you flagged. It contains names, Cold War assets, private donors, missing intelligence archives. Some of these names are still active." Karoline's jaw tightened. "Are they part of our delegation?" The official nodded. "One is your seatmate." Karoline froze. "Matthew Sutter?" "No, the woman in 14A." She turned around. The old woman was already exiting the plane, surrounded by a different group of men. Plain clothes, but clearly armed. "That's not a diplomat's wife," the agent said quietly. "She's ex-KGB. We think the flash drive was a decoy. She gave it to you to mask the fact she planted a bug in your encrypted phone." Karoline's blood ran cold. Everything was upside down. She had trusted the wrong person. Back inside, Jessica Miller was in cuffs. But outside, another storm was rising. Karoline looked out over the Zurich skyline as a new voice came over her comms. Ice glass protocol reset, level 3. You are no longer a courier. You are now the target. And the summit hadn't even started yet. The summit venue shimmered in the late afternoon light, an ancient stone fortress just outside Zurich, modernized into a high-security NATO conference site. But inside its steel-reinforced walls, the air crackled with unease. Karoline Leavitt stepped into the grand chamber, flanked by 2 ice-glass agents disguised as staff. Her face was composed, her steps firm, but inside, she was calculating. Every movement, every glance had become a potential threat. She was no longer just the White House press secretary. She was the only person holding evidence that could unravel the highest levels of global politics. And someone wanted that evidence erased, along with her. The conference had not yet begun. Elite delegates from the US, EU, and select intelligence. Circles mingled beneath chandeliers, sipping aged scotch and feigning normalcy. But Karoline's eyes were on the private gallery above the hall, where shadow figures stood behind tinted glass. The woman from 14A, codenamed Vera, was nowhere to be seen. An embassy official handed Karoline a small earpiece. You're cleared for live transmission. DC wants a statement before the summit begins. Be careful. It's not just cameras watching you now. Karoline nodded. Patch me in. A temporary news booth had been set up near the back. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, and Reuters were all present, trying to catch whispers of what this unscheduled U.S. press address might mean. The cameras clicked on. The red light blinked. Karoline took a breath, then stepped up to the mic. Today, I was nearly detained on false diplomatic grounds. A flight attendant linked to an international ghost network attempted to block my entry to this summit. She has since been arrested and is cooperating. Reporters leaned forward. I will not name the countries suspected of involvement, but I will say this. Our allies must now answer a hard question. Are they aligned with democracy or with shadows? Gasps echoed. Hands shot up. She continued. A classified drive was intercepted. Its contents show an active list of cold war agents embedded in modern infrastructure, media, finance, and even NATO itself. One reporter called out, Are you saying there are spies in this very summit? Karoline paused. I'm saying some faces in this room may have switched sides without ever crossing a border. The feed cut abruptly. Her mic went dead. Across the chamber, 3 guards moved to surround her. But then, bang. A light shattered in the ceiling. Screams rose. Security scrambled. Karoline was already moving. Her ice glass handler grabbed her wrist. They shut the feed. Vera's here. She's not alone. Where is she? The handler tapped a phone. Thermal confirms she's in the West Tower, 3rd floor, window room. Karoline's eyes narrowed. That's the room with the satellite uplink, right? Yes, and she's trying to upload something. Karoline didn't wait. She ran through the side door, tearing past the stone corridor toward the tower stairs. Footsteps echoed behind her, some friendly, some not. She didn't look back. At the top of the 3rd floor, she burst through the wooden doors. There stood Vera, dressed in black, calm, smiling. You made it, Vera said in a thick accent, just like your mother. Karoline's breath caught. What did you say? Vera gestured to the table behind her. On it, a small open case, a laptop, with cables running to the satellite uplink. I served with her, Vera continued, before she disappeared, before she gave everything up to raise you in silence. But she didn't just vanish. She made a choice. Karoline stepped forward. What choice? To pass her legacy. To you. With a flick, Vera tapped the laptop. I'm not here to kill you, Karoline. I'm here to give you the rest of the truth. The laptop screen blinked on. File folders lined the screen, labeled with names, photos, scanned documents from deep cover operations spanning decades. Proof of sabotage, betrayal, assassinations covered up with diplomatic smiles. Caroline's hands trembled. I thought this drive was the key, she whispered. Vera nodded. It was, but not to expose others, to test you. If you survived, you were ready. Outside, the ice glass team finally caught up. Guns drawn, commands shouted, but Caroline raised her hand. Stand down, she said. She's not the enemy. They hesitated. Vera handed her a metal card with a fingerprint reader and a single code word: Motherland. She died protecting this, Vera said quietly. Now it's yours. Caroline looked out the window, beyond the fortress walls. She had stepped into a world where truth was more dangerous than any weapon, and where her next move would decide not just a political career, but a global balance. And the summit hadn't even started. Not officially.